Wondering what the best homeschool curriculum is?
Here's how to choose in just 5 steps.
Hey guys, I'm Ximena.
I'm DeeDee.
And we are Chips and Salsa, two homeschool moms bringing you some fun, practical, and encouraging tips.
Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos.
All right, so we are under quarantine just like everybody else. So we are doing the Zoom video.
We're going to talk about the best homeschool curriculum and how to choose curriculum because next school year is right around the corner.
Yes, it's right here. So we wanted to give you 5 quick practical steps on choosing the curriculum. When you first start homeschooling, it's one of the most overwhelming things to see the plethora of curriculum that there is available. But we're going to help you narrow it down.
Yes, all the curriculums have their pros and their cons. And you got to remember, there's no perfect curriculum out there. So as much as they tell you they have the best, you have to decide what's going to work for your family.
That's right. So the best curriculum is what's best for your family. So let's start. So the first thing to ask yourself is, what kind of homeschool style do you want to have? I know this is hard to know when you're first homeschooling, and we do have a video on the different styles of homeschooling, so check it out. But are you wanting literature rich? Do you want worksheet heavy? Do you want to teach all your kids together at the same time? Do you want it to be computer based? These are all things that you have to consider when you're choosing a curriculum.
Yeah, this is really going to play into how the flow of your day goes, whether some subjects are combined, if you're teaching the kids all together, what subjects you're going to do that with, what subjects you're not going to do that with. So it's really important to kind of visualize what your homeschool is going to look like.
Yeah, based on that, for instance, if you say, well, I want to learn unit study style, because it's a very easy way to get all your kids together and to teach multiple subjects, in one. So if you like unit studies, then that's what you would be searching for when you're looking for curriculum. And then that's going to narrow it down already.
All right, step number 2. Assessment is really important as you're homeschooling because you want to see if your children are grasping the information that you are teaching them or that they're learning through the curriculum. So I think how the curriculum plans on doing the assessments is a huge thing to look at when you're deciding on what curriculum is best for you.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of curriculums, you have to go and check it yourself. And so that's a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more work. There are other curriculums where it does it for you. You have instant feedback, and that's usually like the computer-based curriculums. For instance, like teaching textbooks. I know, DeeDee, that you had switched to teaching textbooks from Saxon Math because of the instant feedback that it gave you.
Yeah, I love Saxon. Saxon was a really complete curriculum. It's pretty rigorous, but it's thorough. Lots of people have used Saxon over the years, so it has a great track record. But what I found was worksheets were piling up because their kids were supposed to be checking it on their own and then turning it into me. And then I would get papers that they didn't check or that I knew they didn't check thoroughly. And so it was kind of this backlog was happening. When I saw that teaching textbooks was going online, I decided to go ahead and try it. And I've loved having that instant feedback because then I know I can go work with them on the concepts they're not grasping and then let them kind of sail through on things that they're able to catch from the teaching textbooks lessons.
Yeah, we have a great review on teaching textbooks. If you want to check that out, check it out, and maybe it's for you. And that second point leads us right into point number 3, which is, how involved do you want to be? When you're homeschooling, you have to be involved, in some degree, some level. But the thing is, there are curriculums out there that basically do it all for you. There are curriculums that, grade for you and you just kind of pop on and see, but you do always have to supervise and maintain some sort of engagement with your child. But there are curriculums that have it all laid out for you and some that you have to prepare more for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying with the assessment, if you don't want to be grading all of these worksheets, you either have to find a system that you're going to use that's going to work. But if you have a lot of kids, that make it too much, make it bog you down. So that's something really important to consider. For instance, we've been using a curriculum called Bookshark, which lays out every day's lesson for you. And they come with great worksheets, which are easy to check. But also they have read alouds. And that part we love because we love learning alongside our kids, right, Ximena?
Yeah.
So Bookshark's been great for that because we're able to be involved, but a lot of stuff is done for us. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's in a unit study form, so then you're able to teach multiple kids at the same time, which is really the way we love doing it. Not everybody does, but we do like that.
Yeah, we have several videos about how we use Bookshark, Bookshark reviews, so go ahead and check those out on our channel as well. Number 4, you want the curriculum to be challenging. I mean, let's face it, they need to be growing and the only way you're gonna grow is if you're being challenged. So really assessing like where they're at and how much of a challenge you wanna present to them as they grow on each level. Because, you know, if they're just doing stuff they've already learned and they're not challenged, you're gonna come up with some behavioral problems, probably some kind of rebellion because they're just not feeling anything.
Yeah, and I think this is especially important to consider when you're teaching multiple children at a time, because if they're not super close in age, we can get into kind of a little rut where we're, you know, not really challenging them because we're taking the small one, you know, the small child's into consideration a little too much, you know, but really, you know, we want to teach to the oldest and kind of let the small child be a little bit more challenged. And so that's, you know, something that we've been doing. And we have a great video on that too, on teaching multi-grades at the same time, making sure that everybody's challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I got that advice when I was early in homeschooling, and I've stuck to that, really trying to challenge the older kids and let the younger ones kind of come along. And if you're new to our channel, I have 4 kids only a year apart. So my youngest, man, I've seen her grow leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. But I'll tell you, there was a little time in there where I was kind of like questioning my
decisions.
Questioning my decision about focusing on the older kids. But man, I mean, she's just really coming along.
Yeah, well, and that's a great testament to sticking to it and trusting the process, right? Because a lot of times we just want to quit when we see things aren't working. But that's another thing we want to tell you guys is stick to it a little bit longer, right? When you're like, I don't know if this is working, you know, maybe make some adjustments, but you want to stick to it to really see, because sometimes the fruits don't, you know, come till later.
Yeah, absolutely. And some curriculums, you know, they really build on itself. So sticking with one curriculum does pay off over years that you might not see initially, or if you just don't give it long enough to really work the curriculum.
Yeah, and having said that, if you absolutely hate it and there's tears all the time, then feel free to switch it up, because that is the freedom that you have in homeschooling, and you don't want anything to be just horrible. Which leads us to our 5th point, which is it's got to be enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta have some fun.
Yeah, homeschooling is about having fun and learning how to learn. And the reality is, we've seen it in all the statistics, that we learn best when we are having fun, when we're playing and exploring.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, sometimes that is in the form of just mixing in some games, but also just not so rigorous. I've heard lots of moms just say their kids hate it when the worksheets are just so plain and boring, you know. So really taking into consideration the personality of your kids, how easily distracted they are. I mean, all of that matters as well. But is it going to be just a huge textbook and, you know, just writing paper, you know, or is there some kind of mixing it up the curriculum that we're looking at for history this year, the kids get to choose whether they're going to do a paper or a project or a slideshow, so there's a little bit of flexibility, which I feel like is going to make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned for that video when we share with you our curriculum choices for next year. But everything that DeeDee says, I echo, I ditto. You want to make sure that your child is interested. So interest-based learning is important, the way they learn, like she was saying. But just think about, how would you learn? You know what I mean? Like, what interests you and what makes you kind of excited, and kind of go from there and ask your kids. Asking your kids is important too.
Lastly, there are a ton of resources out there for you, so you don't have to pick blindly. I love YouTube because there's so many YouTube reviews. Like we said, we have YouTube reviews on curriculum, bloggers that have done reviews. I mean, so much, right, Ximena?
Yeah, and it can get overwhelming when you're researching too much. So that's why I think figuring out what kind of style, and then going into asking, oh, well, I narrowed it down to these two math curriculums, which ones are better? Asking around. I mean, I remember when I first started homeschooling, I just went to you. It was like, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? And I did end up making a lot of the choices you had made because it was very enticing to me, But there's so many Facebook groups where you can ask very knowledgeable moms. And the best thing is to just take a leap of faith and try it, honestly. Like, I think that we can get really caught in the circle of choosing. And so if you see that it meets the requirements that we spoke about, and you've already asked a few parents and it has good reviews, and you've watched a couple of YouTube reviews and some blogs, just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, pray about it. And I always like to, before I make a final decision, I always run it by my husband. And I'll let him know the things that I am finding enticing about this new curriculum. And he always has some great advice. So
yeah, get your husbands involved.
Yes.
Well, that's about all we have for you. We miss you guys. We hope that you're doing well. Make sure that you hit this like button if you like this video.
Yes, share it with your friends. We're all about community, so please join us on Instagram and Facebook as well. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Lastly, we just want to... My husband. Lastly, there are...